Evening, everyone. It's good to be back in the house of the Lord this evening. We still in Revelations tonight, and chapter 5, Revelations chapter 5. We looked at chapter 4 last time. This is a continuation from chapter 4 when John is describing the scene of what he saw at the altar, and so he continues that in chapter 5 tonight. He says, "And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne." Again, he described the throne scene and all of that in the previous chapter, chapter 4. "But him that sat upon the throne, a book written within and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals. Now, this verse tells us that the one sitting on the throne had a book, or what would have been then would have been a scroll that they would have wrapped up. Typically, a scroll would have been written on the inside. A little unusual for one to also be written on the outside, because typically those would have been wrote on the inside, rolled up, and then on the outside would have been an address to who it was written to, or what the cause was. A lot of those were for like deeds or wills or that type of things. And so only time it would have been written on the outside of it is if they ran out of room on the inside to write. So we have one that is also sealed with 7 seals. Typically that was in this time that they would have tied how many seals there would have been. They would have wrapped a string around it and tied the string to help hold that rolled up. And each seal would have been sealed by a witness. So this one they're saying must have been like 7 witnesses, and they usually sealed them with some kind of a wax that they would melt and put over it, and some kind of a family crest or seal, or depending on who it was, would have been on the outside. So to prove who it was that helped seal this, and that they were witness to this document being sealed. So you would only unseal this when it came to be needed. As a will, you would not open it until the person that it was wrote would have passed away. Or if it was an execution of deed, if it was passed from one person to another, then they would open up the old one to prove that they owned it, that they could pass it on to whoever was buying it. So what we see when it's talked about being sealed with 7 seals is, of course, 7 is the number of perfection in the Bible. They're saying that this book, or this scroll that was sealed by 7 people. He says, "And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, 'Who is worthy to open the book and to loosen the seals thereof?'" So in the case of thinking in the terms of earthly, if someone had a scroll like that, only that person that was legally was allowed to open that up. If it was for a will, it would have been someone that was supposed to have been from the law, or someone representing the law, or that could open it. So whoever was a deed, who the owner of the property, of course, was allowed to open it. So there was only it was a matter of legality of who was allowed to open the seal. So here it is saying with a strong voice, the angel is saying who is worthy to open this book and to loosen the seals thereof. And we see he goes in and says that no man in heaven nor earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. That's a pretty extensive list, isn't it? No man in heaven, no man on earth, neither under the earth, That covers a lot of people, doesn't it? The thing I noticed is this says that no man in heaven can open it. John, there wasn't none of us worthy to open it, was it?
He wouldn't be considered a man at that point, would he?
No, not at this point. He had been the risen Christ, and he was in his God form now. But he goes on and says, and I wept much. Of course, this is John talking, and John's writing, I wept much. Weeping would have taken place then as it is now. You only weep over something very serious, I take. Weeping may be done at deaths and at funerals. Or if it would have been a very happy occasion, been some happy tears. But I think he's talking about some some sadness that he wept much. And to me, that's very deeply. He was very saddened that of all of the people that had ever lived, man was unable to open it. Because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. What a sad situation to think of, isn't it? No one. No man.
There was no man on earth that was ever perfect except Christ.
Except Christ, yes.
He was also perfect there.
But look at this next verse. And one of the elders saith unto me, weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. The lion. The lion is the strongest animal there is in their thinking here, and it represents the lion is the ruler. He's the king of the jungle. He's the king of it. So we see a lion here that represents strength and represents being a ruler. The Lion of the tribe of Judah.
Smallest of the tribes.
The smallest of the tribes, yeah. The root of David. What is the root of David? If you go back into the Old Testament, it talked about that it would be the root of David, or the offspring of David, that would be the ruler that the Messiah would come from that lineage. That was a promise that was promised unto David. So he's being described as the ruler. He's also described as the root of David, or from that lineage, hath prevailed to open the book and to loosen the 7 seals thereof. Isn't that something to think of? The only one that could do so. I wanted to go back here just a minute, and I was trying to remember this from the last time, and when we were talking about the scene around the throne, was Isaiah chapter 6, and I know it's in here, if I can find it. And just read this real quickly here, what Isaiah described, and see how close it came to what the description of what John saw. So in Isaiah chapter 6, starting in verse 1, it says, In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings, with 2 to cover his face, or 2 to cover his face, and 2 to cover his feet, and with 2 he did fly. And one cried unto another, saying, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the post of the door moved at the voice of him that cried. And the house was filled with smoke. So I tell you, it was a pretty powerful voice. John described it as a trumpet, wasn't it? And the post of the door moved. Then said I, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and dwell in the midst of the people of unclean lips. For mine eyes have seen the King of the Lord of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken from the tongs from off the altar. And he laid it upon my mouth, and said, Lo, this hath touched thine lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. Also I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and whom will go for me? Then say I, Here am I, send me. And I think that ties in very much with what the scene that we're having here. When you see the altar scene, in those in last time we saw them crying, Holy, holy, holy. But also when they're looking for who is worthy to be able to open the seal, we hear the same language here in Isaiah in 6 and 8 saying, Also heard a voice saying, Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? So I think that you see the same thing there. Of course, then Isaiah was talking about being sent to his people, but here in Revelations we see where God has sent his Son. He is the one that is worthy to open the 7 seals. He is described as the lion and of the tribe of Judah and the root of David, and he has prevailed. Verse 6, he goes on and says, And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne, and of the 4 beasts, and the midst of the elders, stood a lamb. Stood a lamb. Now we see another description of Jesus. The Lamb. Now the Lamb here and throughout all of all of the stuff that we see, the Lamb represents the Redeemer. The Lamb was the most vulnerable animal that there pretty much was. They were the ones that was often sacrificed. They would stand completely still and allow you to do that. So we see him being described as a lion at one point, and here as the lamb. He says, stood a lamb as it had been slain. Not only is it a lamb, but it is the slain lamb. Slain for our sin. Isn't that something to think about? Having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God, sent forth into all the earth. What does that represent?
Horn is a symbol of strength.
Horn is also a sign of strength. Eye is a representative of knowledge. So I think that we see those 7 spirits that were sent out to the 7 churches, representing the churches and the saints throughout all of the earth. I think that also even partly covers us, doesn't it? He says, and he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne. God was holding this book, the book of life, some may refer to it as, holding it in his right hand, and no one was worthy to take it but the Lamb. And when he had taken the book, I like this. The 4 beasts and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them a harp, and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints. So we know from the previous chapter that the 24 that was around the altar, they sang, "Holy, holy, holy," to the Lord. But when the Lamb came and took the book, they came off of their thrones and kneeled before him, having the harps that they sang with, and the odors were the prayers of the saints in their hands. I think that kind of represents us all bowing before the throne. Now, this is also something that's most of the commentaries that I read said that this is something that's to take place into the future. So all of our prayers that goes up, I believe, for especially for those that we love and those that we want to see saved, those that we want to see for healing, those that we want to see for health, those that we want to see for protection, all of those prayers are here around the throne. Not only was he there, and it says, and they sung a new song. A new song. Saying, "Thou art worthy to take the book and open the seals thereof. For thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to God by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation." Oh, what a song. That just about covers us all, didn't it? All of the believers, all of those that was redeemed, only he was the one worthy.
Sound like believers out of every country too.
Hallelujah. Yeah. Out of every kindred, tongue, and people and nation. I think that covers us all. See, we don't live in Israel. We're not Jewish by birth, physical birth, but we're one by spiritual birth. I can't speak Hebrew, so I think that covers us all as well. He said, "And has made us unto our God King and priest, and we shall reign on the earth." Those that was gathered around, singing praise unto the Lamb.
He's in heaven seeing this vision, or you see the vision.
Yeah, John was carried up, it
All
said.
in the vision. But now he will be king and priest on the earth.
Yeah.
The new earth and the old earth.
Well, it sounds probably like the new earth, doesn't it? I don't know.
Anyway, he gave us authority by the Spirit.
Well, the Bible says there'll be a new heaven and a new earth, wherein dwells righteousness. And that's what I believe that God, it'll be a place of righteousness. There'll be no sin. It'll be a righteous place. And I don't mean to talk about this earth that have been burning up, the things, the sin and all this stuff will be burned up. So I have to believe that there's going to be a new earth. I got a disagreement with people not too long ago about that, but I still stick with that fact that there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth. And
Well, we'll cover that in a few chapters, won't we?
everybody sees that again.
But he says also in verse 11, he says, "And I beheld and I heard the voice of many angels around about the throne, and the beast and the elders, and the number of them was 10,000 times 10,000, There's thousands and thousands of thousands.
Give me that number.
I think that was a number too big to count. I think that was a number just too big to count. Boy, it sounds like a lot of people there, doesn't it?
I read somewhere one time the Greek, that the biggest number in the Greek is 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
So yeah, 10,000 times
talking
10,000.
about in the Greek. That might
Yeah.
be something to do with that.
Could be. With a lot of the Bible is written in Greek.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that could be very possible. I hadn't seen that, but that's very possible. After you said it, seems like I remember reading at one point, but I didn't read that in any of the things that I read prepared for this. But what was they doing there, though, John? Verse 12 says, "And they were saying with a loud voice, Worthy is the Lamb that was slain to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing." Oh my goodness.
They ain't no bank run about all that, is it?
No, there's none. Oh my goodness. Just think of all of that. Worthy is the Lamb. He is the only one that was worthy. The only one that could open these seals and do so. And every creature which is in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and such are in the sea, and all that are in them, heard, I say, blessing and honor and glory and power be unto him that sitteth upon the throne and unto the Lamb forever and ever. Folks, it sounds to me like everyone heard that. Doesn't the Bible also tell you that there will come a time that every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that He is Lord? I wonder if this is one of those times
It will happen.
that all of the earth, all of everyone, all of everything, ever created or ever was created, is going to hear that about the Lamb. Blessed and honor and glory and power unto Him that sitteth upon the throne, and to the Lamb and unto the Lamb forever and ever. See, that's God and the Son. It goes on and says, "And the four beasts said, Amen. Let it be so. And the 24 elders fell down and worshipped Him that liveth forever and ever." Forever and ever. There's 24 elders that sat about the throne, worship the Lamb. Wouldn't that be something to see?
You think that 12 of them was from the tribe of Israel, and the other ones was from the grace?
I have heard and read different things. That's what some of them thought says, that it was probably from the 12 tribes and probably the 12 apostles, 12 of His apostles. I've heard a lot of other stuff. You can go and also see back in Leviticus where they separated the tribe of Levi into 24, 2 from each tribe. 12 from the tribe of Levi that was divided up, that was to care for the temple at all times, those 24. Some said they believed that it was that 24. I don't know. I won't know until I get there and ask. Well, let's end that here tonight. I know that's not a very long one. The next one will take a lot longer to get through. And when we go into the seals, that when He opens them and what they mean. So I know we have a storm coming tonight. I pray everyone stays safe. I don't think it's supposed to be as much snow as it is wind, and that wind knocks out our power and other things. So
40 miles an hour.
supposed to be some pretty serious winds. We went to Charleston earlier for a doctor's appointment and left there. And as we was going out towards that airport road, we popped up on top of the hill there, and there was a tree in the road there covering 2 of the lanes. And lucky and fortunate for us, there was nobody behind us. So when I hit the brakes and went out into the turning lane to turn to get around it, there was nobody there. So, but it was cleaned
All
up.
seeing eye.
Yes, yeah. There was nobody around me. So, anyone have anything else?
That's gonna be a church meeting. I don't know what meeting.
Yeah, that church meeting there's going to be a good one, isn't it? It's going to be a lot different than what we have here.